Hiya, Leah asked for a couple of bits of help today, so I thought I'd just do this video for you to take you through some of a case study for Unit 6. Video will be a bit higgledy-piggledy. You can watch this over yourself a couple of times. I'm kind of just going to be jumping from document to document a little bit, take you through a little bit of information that we've looked at, just try and give you a couple of hints of what might be on this paper and how to use this case study. So the case study you've got, one about Cloud Anvil, is looking at a tech support company deals mainly with cloud storage and things like that, so very similar to iCloud, Google Docs, that kind of thing. So really it's looking at those kind of bits. In general, if we have a look at the case study, I know we looked at one a couple of weeks ago and we did a lot of analysis of gross profit, net profit, revenue, those kind of things. There hasn't been any of that data in the case study this year, so we have to look elsewhere for it. But I'll take you through a couple of bits there. Now, you've all got a copy of this lovely handbook I made the other day. It is quite detailed, there's a lot to it, but it is quite useful if you use it correctly. Now, hopefully this short video will give you an idea of how to use it better and take you through that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a couple of the areas I think are probably going to come up with the exam. This is based from looking at the case study. Now, this case study looks very much like it's going to be focused on about three areas. The first one, possibly motivation, mainly because the initial case study on Google, which won't be the business you're writing about, it's a bit of a curveball in there. You'll be writing about Anvil Cloud. Google case study looks very, very much at how Google motivates its staff, but also gets high levels of employee engagement. So it talks about how they allow the workers to create this certain environment where they're encouraged to share thoughts and ideas and participate within the company. It identifies key bits of motivational strategies. It also sort of links into the fact that UK companies don't do this very well. They aren't great at motivating. They offer compulsory pensions, but we don't really offer any else from there. So this page 5 is quite useful for that. Now, it makes reference to something called the White Paper Engaging Generation Me. It's worth trying to find that. It's quite interesting to find some information about this kind of problem. Though you will be pulling stuff from in there, it won't be the most important stuff, but it's definitely worth focusing on this bit and having a good read and understanding what's going on. The crux of what you're going to be working from is the Anvil Cloud case study. Now, everything I say in this video, you can't take this as guaranteed for the exam. This is a guide of what I think might come up in the exam, the kind of ways you should approach stuff. So don't, if you walk into exam and nothing I said today is right, don't blame me. This is just what I think it might be happening. So you should be looking at other stuff, but in my class we're kind of focusing on these kind of areas. So from my first read and from my other colleagues, we really think this is going to be focused more towards motivation, quality management, and possibly recruitment. So it's likely we're going to get something along the lines of those kind of things. So questions such as this, things like show how to understand human resource planning, make recommendations and how to recruit correctly to improve competitiveness. And in this case, the main objective for Anvil Cloud is growth. So always thinking about everything you're talking about is about growth. Then another question like this, show your understanding of quality management. So what is quality management? How does it work? Make recommendations about the appropriate techniques or tools that they could do to improve the quality. So quality doesn't just involve the manufacturing process, it involves the interaction of all workers together as well and how they operate and how the business can kind of create this quality culture where workers try to contribute to improving the business through their own tasks and how they work. We'll do a little bit on that in a minute as well. Then motivation as well. So show you understanding what motivation involves. What is motivation? What are the strategies? How's it done? What are the theories? Looking things like Maslow, Hertzberg, Mayo, and any other strategies you want to look at as well, McGregor. So then you'd be identifying how motivation works, how it's supposed to be, what they're doing in Anvil Cloud perhaps, and then look at issues that they could do to motivate them. Now, this exam really draws in strands from everything. It might have a focus on a question, something like motivation, but it'll be asking you to pull in other bits, from human resources, etc. So don't completely assume it's all out of that. Then training development you might have questions about, so looking at how there are different methods of training, looking at coaching, mentoring, on the job, off the job, and then coming up with a recommendation of how they could perhaps use a training development to improve growth and the main targets that they're looking at to try and boost the business. Obviously, quality culture, once again that links into this idea of quality management, so we can be throwing out ideas like Kaizen, quality control, and talking about how they can actually improve it. Now, the last one here, the understanding need to manage change. So this links to things like stakeholders, which stakeholders could have an impact, which ones will have an impact of trying to change things, what can happen, how you're going to actually manage a change. Now, personally, I do feel it's going to push more towards this idea of either motivation, quality, or skills. So dead quick, before my time runs out on this one, I'm going to say, have a look at the motivation. Do some revision in your own time. Don't use your 6 hours in class for revision. Have a look at the different motivation styles, different motivation techniques which can be done. Have a look what Anvil Cloud does. Have a look at what they don't do. Look at what Google does. Take Google as your sort of like your model that you're going to follow through on this and use some of their examples. You need to probably going to need to set an example of how to motivate, what to do. Initially, like in any single of these Unit 6, you're going to start with an introduction. Now, the introduction essentially is in this booklet again, and it's the first couple of pages. So, the business, Anvil Cloud, what products do they offer? They can bring computer storage and support and iCloud storage. What industry do they operate in? It's computing or the tech industry. How big is the business? It's a medium-sized business because it's got about 70 employees on there. Type of ownership, it's a limited company, including the name Anvil Cloud Limited. Single multi-use, a single multi-site business. It's single, has one base in Reading, though it's cloud-based, so it doesn't have to worry too much about siting. Who are the customers? It's mainly focused on business to business, though if it's cloud, most people will be able to use it. Who are its competitors? iCloud, Google, Amazon, small providers, all those kind of things. That's your introduction, so you've got your little block at the front. That's where you start. Then we're going to go into the core of it. Now, regardless of what the actual case study is, you'll be pulling your information for your question here. So if it's about motivation, you'll talk about different motivation strategies. You'll talk about what works, what doesn't work. You might talk about what Google does as a good example. You might talk about what Anvil Cloud does. Now, their problem is they seem to have problems with motivation. They have a large number of staff who are leaving. Labour turnover is quite high. Being able to analyse this is going to be really important, because what we can see from it is we can see both wages on this side, labour turnover. Can you match which jobs are turning over quicker, who's leaving? It's clear the interns who are unpaid leave 100% of them, but that's likely to happen, which is another problem we'll come on to a bit later on. But have a look which roles are turning over quicker. Not just a percentage, but what percentage does this actually mean? Are they high numbers, low numbers? Is it because of low pay, high pay? Is it because of opportunities elsewhere? So motivation is going to be important, because pay is not the only motivating factors. We have to think potentially then of a motivation package which we could put in, and you might have to consider the motivation packages for different work roles are going to be different. They won't all be motivated by the same thing. So if you've got a high wage member of staff, they're not going to necessarily be motivated by an extra $5,000 on a pay package. They might want other things. So you need to be really making links to Maslow, the stages of Maslow, and also making links to how the business runs. So giving the employees freedom to do things. Big arguments can be financial versus non-financial motivation. So swap up on that, do some revision. Really focus on how it relates to business. The other section I think is going to be important is quality management. Now, the Google case study talks very much about how Google allow their staff to take responsibility and are encouraged to take responsibility, self-improvement, which is the basis of the Kaizen model. Now, Kaizen is obviously all about small little bits of self-improvement. Now, you might be asked to look at different methods of sort of quality management, perhaps. You should then be able to explain quality control, Kaizen, the other one which has escaped me, total quality management, be able to explain how they might work. Then you might have to recommend how Cloud Anvil or Anvil Cloud could actually use this. So how could they use Kaizen? What are the benefits of giving each employee a bonus or a prize or extra money if they find a better way of doing something? So you have to work into that. So do some revision on that. Have a look at those aspects. Another side, skills recruitment as well. The main aim for Anvil Cloud is growth. They say we want to move up to 80 employees within a couple of years or a year or two. Anvil Cloud recruits interns. No, that's not it. Blah, blah, blah. There's a little bit which sort of gives a big hint into it somewhere. The future workforce at Anvil Cloud will total 80 employees after recruitment. So I think there might well be a question about recruiting. Pam Grainer is the founder of Anvil Cloud, and she wants to recruit up to 10 new members of staff, particularly infrastructure specialists and front-end developers. Now, This is because the business is growing. So you are quite like to have a question about how to do recruitment, the needs for, and most importantly, the need to get the specialist people in. So through this, you might explain the recruitment process, you might explain the importance of getting the right people, how they're going to get the right people. So what I would say here is the free interns are really important. When I say free, I mean ones who don't cost anything. Interns come in for a set period of time to gain work experience for nothing. Cloud Anvil are rubbish with these. They seem to be using them, training them, then 100% of them leave, probably because they aren't offering them any jobs. So maybe the focus of a question about recruitment is going to be making the best usage of these interns. So not only making use of the ones they've got, but making sure that they can get the best ones coming in. So perhaps we can talk about making links with local universities. Reading has a very big university with a very good reputation for tech development. So having a link with them, getting interns in from a university to work for free gives them experience. It also means they're quite productive. If they're effective interns, it might give them an incentive to work for the company, and therefore it rolls over. So we need to be starting to look at issues like that. Now the data is also going to be important. I've kind of mentioned before looking at the turnover rates, so we need to look at those in relation to turnover. They're looking at infrastructure specialists and front-end developers. Now 33% of infrastructure specialists and 33% of front-end developers leave every single year in the company. So this is quite an important number because it's about 2 out of 6. They want to actually get more of these. So first off, they've got to stop losing them, but then they've also got to gain them. So if they're looking at employing 5 new front-end developers, if they know at least 2 are going to leave every year, it means they've got to recruit 7. So they really need to look at how they can get these people in. So it links back to motivation. You can bring that strand in here as well. So can not only you recruit the right people, but you now need to find a package which is going to keep them. So we need to be talking about wages, salaries, motivational strategies, and financial and non-financial again. So we're starting to pull strands together there. Now I know this video is quite quick and I'm just trying to give you some ideas. You can watch it back over and over again, but I will put together some little plans for you, and I will pass all this over to Joe soon. So the data is going to be really important. We have to look at that. My key areas I think you should focus on: motivation, quality, and recruitment, and HR, the structure on that. Now just to take you back to the booklet dead quick, what I've done is I've broken down all these sections as well. I'm moving quite quickly because I only have 15 minutes before the recording stops. This first section is about leadership and management. Not a lot about that in the case study. We don't see anything about autocratic, democratic managers, etc. What we can take from a case study is they do seem to be quite laissez-faire. We do allow the workers to work into that. So we can talk about the pros and cons of laissez-faire. Why might laissez-faire management actually help the business? Why might it cause problems? What potential impacts might it have? What sort of leadership styles are demonstrated? Well, that links kind of into that. So, sorry, the management structure is one woman at the top and then all the rest of them. What sort of leadership and management styles? Back to laissez-faire, potentially. We've assumed that. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the case. Skills, don't know much about that. What are the key factors in relation to human resources? So we can look at what I talked about earlier in the video about keeping the staff and recruiting them from elsewhere. What do Anvil Cloud do to motivate their workforce? Identify a couple of things. It's probably wages. We can look at the problems and the pros and cons of that. But then we've got to think about what they should be doing as well. How's not having a good motivational package holding them back? How does Cloud Anvil make sure they have the skills needed in the business? We need to be thinking about how they're going to recruit, how they're going to make sure they got it. So once again, the interns are important, but we're letting all the interns go. How do we manage training development? What can we find from a case study which looks at training? What does the information tell you about the business? How successful is it? What's the impacts? Performance appraisal as well. There's not a huge amount in there about that, but see what we can pick up. So it's obviously self-assessment, peer group assessment, all of that, Sigma 6. What evidence is there to show how well equipped they are to manage change? So from your own opinion, do you think they can change? Do you think they're able to do it? Have a look back at that. Then there's a section on quality. That's going to be important. And then I've got a section of breaking the data. Can we break as much data down as we can? What does it mean? Tell me the story. I went on about it when I was with you for a week about telling me a story of the data. What does the data tell me? What do the most significant issues facing Cloud Anvil are? This is really important and I'm running out of time. So the big issues, there are 8 sections. Try and find as many issues that they're facing. So what problems have we got? What do we need to do? Identify them step by step. What is a problem? How could they fix it? Then do a bit of research into the industry. Is it growing? Is it declining? What's happened with it? Then strengths and weaknesses of a business. Sorry, this is really quick. I've got about 10 seconds left to go. I only get 15 minutes on this. Any more problems, email me, Newman, newmang@southport.ac.uk. Bye.